Hey everyone, so today I'm going to talk about some Baldur's Gate 3 modding, and specifically if you ever encounter missing alpha channels when working with the virtual textures. And just as a disclaimer, this tutorial is not going to cover getting set up with either the new Mod Toolkit or the old Modder's Multitool. For that, you'll have to consult any of the other online resources that are already out there on how to do that. So as you can see here, I have one of the camp bedrolls extracted. Everything's all textured nicely, except it looks like we are missing a transparency channel. If we look at the geometry here, we can see all of these triangles and polygons that will definitely need to be transparent in these areas, with the edges and some overlapping areas. But as we can see, we have nothing going into our alpha socket for the shader. Now, the way that I got these textures was from the new Mod Toolkit, and we can see here that we're working with Camp Bedroll B, and if we have a look here, we can see that, there should be a transparent edge all around here. If you go have a look at the material for it and zoom around here, we can see the transparent material. We can also put that on a cube or a plane if we want. And then finally, here are the virtual texture resources themselves. And if you have a look in the preview panel, you might see that our textures look the same for the albedo here as they do in Blender, but here we have alpha set to off. If we turn alpha on, we can see that for the albedo channel there should be an alpha mask here. If we go to only, we can see the alpha on and off here, and overlay is just another way of visualizing the same thing. So if I set it back to only, zoom out a little bit, we can see that we should expect to see an alpha on our albedo. Going back to off, here's the albedo, this is our normal map, and this is our physical map. So if we hop back into Blender and look at our albedo, we're set to color in alpha, and there is no transparency here. Can double check that by going to alpha, and we are actually getting pure white. So I've actually noticed that working with a few different virtual texture sets, if we go back here, the way that I've gotten these, you simply right click on whatever virtual texture that you want, go to extract virtual texture data, set whatever file directory that you want. And once it extracts, you will get an albedo channel, normal, and physical for it. So the thing that I've noticed with all of these virtual textures when using the new Mod Toolkit is for the albedo channel, you'll get a pure white alpha. For the normal channel, you'll actually get a pure black alpha. And then for the physical channel, you'll get this middle gray. Specifically, if you color drop it, you'll get a 0.498039. As far as why 0.498039 is special, for that you'll have to ask Larian. So for certain texture sets and objects, this actually won't be a problem. You might not need to use any of the alpha channels whatsoever. You should never have to use the alpha channel from the normal map. So if I go back to color and alpha, because the alpha is pure black, we don't actually see anything here. But if we go to color, this is just a DirectX normal map. So taking a look at that on the model, all that we need to do for use in Blender is to flip the green channel to convert DirectX to OpenGL, and then that's all good. So we don't actually ever need the alpha channel from the normal maps that are exported from the new Mod Toolkit. However, we might run into issues like this where we are expecting to see an alpha channel in either the albedo and or the physical. So if we're expecting an alpha in the albedo, what we're probably expecting is to see some transparency in the model itself with like a complicated edge like this. If we expect to see an alpha channel in the physical, if I'm not mistaken, that is for things that have a velvet mask, things like Astarion's shirt. However, I don't think that's very common in the game, so you probably won't run into that too often. And as a quick side note, the other channels within the physical map, the red is the metal channel, green is the roughness, and blue looks pretty much pure white in this case. It is actually the ambient occlusion, which if you're rendering in cycles, you may or may not choose to include the ambient occlusion anyways. If you do include it, you would mix that into your base color. So as an example here, I have Kethric's Warhammer. With the red we have metal, green we have roughness. I have chosen not to include the ambient occlusion, but you can see that the blue channel of the physical map is indeed the ambient occlusion. And likewise, if I have a look at the albedo map and then go to the alpha, we're getting pure white here. If we go to the normal, pure black for the alpha, and then if we go to the physical, we're getting that middle gray again. So if you go to color in alpha, this is like semi-transparent because it's half transparent. But for this model, none of this matters because we're not expecting any velvet textures on it, and there is no transparency to be had anywhere. It's just a solid object. So what do we do when we're expecting a transparency channel of some sort, but the Mod Toolkit is just not exporting that for whatever reason? Because again, if we have a look at the material and the virtual textures, set the alpha to on, the alpha is in there somewhere, somehow, but we're not getting it apparently when we right click and extract. So the workaround that I've found for this is actually using the old Baldur's Gate Modder's Multitool to extract these virtual textures instead of using the new Mod Toolkit. Whether this is just a glitch and it's exporting wrong is unknown to me. Whether there's a setting somewhere in here that needs to be changed in order for this to export right, that's also unknown to me. So if anybody knows how to get the new Mod Toolkit to properly export the alpha channels in this case, please leave a comment down below because I would love to know how to consolidate the entire workflow into the new Mod Toolkit. But until then, we can at least use this workaround to get the proper alpha channels extracted. So with the virtual texture resource selected, we can actually see this attribute down here called the gtext file name, and then it's this big serial code here. This is different from the GUID, which will have dashes in it. So we'll come down to the gtext file name, and we're going to want to copy the value to the clipboard. So this serial is the value. If you copy property name, you're just going to get a gtext file name copied to your clipboard. So right click, copy value, and then we're going to head over to the old Modder's Multitool. So once you're in the old Modder's Multitool, we're going to search index, and then we are going to paste that gtext file name that we copied, hit enter, and it might take a second, but Now we have this virtual textures file path, and we have albedo, normal, physical, _D, and then that big long gtext file name, .gtp. So go ahead and select this one, and then you'll want to click Extract File. So once you've extracted the file, you'll want to go into the file directory where you have the Modders Multitool. Go into Unpacked Data, Virtual Textures, Generated, Public, Virtual Textures, and then you can go ahead and paste that same gtext file name. And then you'll see here that we have 3 DDS files that have been extracted with the gtext file name. So go ahead and copy this out to whatever Blender project folder you have going. So here are the new maps that we just extracted from the old Mod Toolkit, and already we can see that we're properly getting an alpha channel in here. So looking at color and alpha, that looks right, and looking at the alpha channel itself, that looks right. So I'm going to drag this into my node graph here, and then just plug the alpha into the alpha, and we're good to go. I can actually just get rid of this old one and replace it with the base color. And now we've properly found that alpha map. So yeah, if you're ever missing an alpha map by extracting virtual textures from the new Mod Toolkit, for the time being, go ahead and extract that with the old Modders Multitool, and until there's either a fix or a workaround found for the new Mod Toolkit, ultimately copying and pasting the gtext file name really only adds a couple minutes to the workflow. So if this video has helped you out at all, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.